They said an American could never lead the Catholic Church. But Robert Prevost wasn't just American, he was a missionary, a mechanic of hope, and a man who turned impossible into I'm possible. Born in a shuttered parish, mocked for his quiet faith, he dreamed of a church without walls. A church where service meant getting your hands dirty, whether in Chicago's streets or Peru's mountains. Critics called him unfit, survivors questioned his past, but Prevost knew. Redemption isn't earned in palaces, it's forged in the fires of humility. Today, as Pope Leo XIV, he stands not above the world, but beside it, proving that greatness isn't about where you're from, but who you choose to become. The boy who dreamed of priesthood. Robert Prevost's journey to the papacy didn't begin in marble halls or grand cathedrals. It started in a modest home on the south side of Chicago. Born in 1955 to a working-class family, his father was a dedicated educator, and his mother worked as a librarian. They didn't have much, but what they did have was rich in faith, discipline, and love. Young Robert's fascination with the church began early. While most kids played games, he was setting up makeshift altars at home, pretending to lead mass with white cloths, candles, and prayer books. Life wasn't easy. His childhood parish, St. Mary's, closed its doors, a symbolic loss for a boy whose world revolved around the church. The family weathered financial instability, and Robert learned early that devotion didn't shield you from struggle. It helped you survive it. In a multicultural working-class neighborhood, he found himself navigating the tension between American identity and Catholic heritage, often feeling caught between worlds. Yet through it all, his faith never wavered. He served as an altar boy, sang in the choir, and found purpose in every small act of service. His dream of becoming a priest wasn't born from ambition, but from love, a quiet desire to serve God and people in equal measure. Your beginnings may be humble, but your purpose can be holy. Sometimes the smallest spark of faith lights the greatest fire. The missionary grind from Chicago to the Andes. After joining the Augustinian order in 1977, Robert Prevost left behind the comfort of American life for the rugged, unforgiving mountains of northern Peru. Armed with a math degree from Villanova University and a deep sense of mission, he arrived in remote communities like Chulucanas and Trujillo, not as a preacher in robes, but as a brother in boots. For over 15 years, Prevost lived among the poor, walking through flooded roads to reach villages, helping fix broken-down trucks to deliver food and medicine, and celebrating Mass under makeshift roofs. His Spanish improved through daily necessity, and his faith deepened with every challenge he faced. The hardships were relentless: cultural barriers, poverty, isolation, and the ever-present question, am I doing enough? But the people he served never doubted him. They saw his humility, his willingness to listen, and his tireless work ethic. During Peru's worst moments, including the COVID-19 crisis, he was called the Saint of the North for helping secure oxygen plants that saved countless lives. In the Andes, Prevost didn't just spread the gospel, he lived it. His leadership wasn't about titles or hierarchy, but about healing, feeding, and walking beside the forgotten. True greatness begins where comfort ends. Service is not about speaking from the pulpit, it's about showing up when no one else will. Rising through scandal and skepticism, as Robert Prevost rose through the ranks of the Augustinian order, his path was not without shadows. His leadership coincided with a time when the church was reeling from scandal, particularly around the mishandling of abuse cases. Critics pointed to a moment when Prevost permitted a restricted priest to live near a school, an action that drew sharp backlash from survivor advocacy groups and fueled public skepticism. For some, his past raised doubts about transparency and accountability, but Prevost didn't retreat from scrutiny. He confronted it. He acknowledged the church's failings, advocated for reform, and began to walk a tightrope between tradition and progress. His training in canon law made him a formidable voice within the Vatican, earning him the respect of conservative clergy. Yet his compassion and quiet honesty made him equally appealing to those seeking a more human, reform-driven church. In 2023, Pope Francis made a bold move, appointing Prevost to lead the powerful dicastery for bishops, putting him in charge of selecting the future leaders of the church. One of his first actions? Including women in the selection panels for bishops, a historic shift that many had long demanded but few had dared to implement. Prevost's rise wasn't polished, it was forged in fire. He didn't pretend to be perfect. Instead, he proved that integrity means facing hard truths and choosing accountability over image. Leadership isn't about being spotless, it's about standing firm when the world demands better. The historic election, shattering the American Pope taboo. For centuries, the idea of an American pope was considered unthinkable. The Vatican, wary of US global dominance, quietly held an unwritten rule: no pontiff from the world's superpower. But in May 2025, that rule was broken. Cardinal Robert Prevost of Chicago, missionary, canon lawyer, and bridge builder, was elected Pope Leo XIV, becoming the first American to ever lead the Catholic Church. The news stunned the world. Even inside the conclave, few expected Prevost's name to emerge. Yet it was his dual identity, American by birth, Peruvian by mission, that set him apart. He spoke fluent Spanish and Italian, lived among the poor in South America for over 15 years, and earned a reputation as a unifier across cultural, ideological, and geographic divides. Choosing the name Leo was no accident. It honored Pope Leo XIII, the 19th century champion of workers' rights and social justice. With that gesture, Pope Leo XIV signaled a bold agenda to focus the Church's mission on inequality, climate change, and the dignity of labor. He didn't arrive at the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica as a symbol of nationalism, but as a messenger of unity across continents. In one election, Pope Leo XIV shattered centuries of precedent, not to claim power, but to elevate purpose. Where tradition sets limits, courage draws new maps. Greatness often begins at the edge of what's considered possible. Leadership lessons: humility, adaptability, and quiet strength. Pope Leo XIV's ascent wasn't driven by ambition, it was built on a lifetime of quiet service. His leadership philosophy is rooted in three unshakable principles: humility, adaptability, and strength without spectacle. Throughout his career, whether navigating muddy roads in rural Peru or restructuring Vatican bureaucracy, he never sought the spotlight. He led by doing. Fixing broken trucks, comforting the sick, or rewriting bishop appointment protocols, he treated every task with the same purpose: to serve. His belief? Lead from behind, but never fall behind in compassion. What sets him apart is his ability to adapt. In a polarized church, he embraces dialogue over dogma. His reforms, like inviting women into bishop selection panels, didn't come with grand declarations. They came quietly, through action. He listens deeply, weighing perspectives from conservatives and progressives alike, crafting a leadership style that is less about imposing and more about uniting. And though soft-spoken, Prevost carries a quiet strength. When faced with criticism over past decisions, he didn't deflect, he confronted. He stated clearly, mistakes are part of leadership, but so is accountability. In an era where loud often overshadows wise, Pope Leo XIV offers a different model. The leader who bends low to lift others up. A shepherd who doesn't just preach humility, but lives it daily. True leadership doesn't need applause. It needs presence, courage, and the grace to serve even when no one's watching. Legacy in motion, a blueprint for you. Pope Leo XIV's story isn't just a chapter in church history. It's a mirror reflecting what's possible for anyone willing to lead with heart, humility, and relentless purpose. His journey from a shuttered parish in Southside Chicago to the seat of global Catholicism wasn't paved with privilege or power. It was carved by perseverance, faith, and service in the shadows. He didn't climb by chasing titles, he rose by lifting others. From delivering medicine in remote Peruvian villages to reforming bishop appointments in Rome, his actions spoke louder than his name. He never asked, "How far can I rise?" but always, "How much more can I serve?" That mindset became his legacy, and now that legacy is still unfolding, not as a monument, but as a model. It reminds us that greatness doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It invites each of us to lead wherever we are, at work, in our communities, or within our families, with quiet strength and bold integrity. What made Pope Leo XIV extraordinary wasn't his election. It was the decades of invisible preparation that made him ready when the world least expected it. Your impact won't be defined by what you build for yourself, but by what you build for others. You don't need a throne to lead, you just need the courage to begin. Let his life be your invitation to turn today's small acts into tomorrow's legacy. Pope Leo XIV didn't just rewrite history, he redefined leadership. From a shuttered parish in Chicago to the balcony of the Vatican, his story reminds us that faith, resilience, and quiet action can shake the world. If he can rise through rejection, controversy, and expectation, so can you. Don't wait for permission to lead. Start where you are, because the next global change may start with your humble yes. Like, share, and subscribe to Rise and Inspire for more stories of transformational leadership.